4. What is worth fighting for?
Test 1 2 1 1 2.
Hey.
Hey, Flame, are you there, Flame?
I'm there, man.
Right, 3.
We can go.
2 1. Pow, baby, let's go. Hello, everybody. Wrap up episode 4. Can you believe we made it this far?
Oh, it's been definitely a ride with
Goddamn.
some humps and bumps and things in the dumps.
But first, as always, do we have delays in the voices? I mean, it's fine if we have small delays. And can you hear Flame? Because last time he was muted from the get-go.
It should be good now, man.
We should be good.
We
should be good. We need some confirmation in the chat. I cannot see chat. He can only see
I
the
can
chat.
see chat. What up, people?
Give the proper flowers to the people that
Voice
are already
goods, all goods. Confirmed on Twitch and on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Twitch exploding. What up, Twitch? What up, YouTube? How's it going?
People on Twitch, people on YouTube, you know, we love all of you the same.
all of you equally.
Yeah. All right. So we good, right?
Yeah, looks like it. I'm just gonna prep the talking articles.
Yeah, it's all on your Discord. All right, so wrap up. Small little intro for the folks who, I'm sure by now, there are not that many who don't know what the hell this is. Okay. But this is basically our little show where we talk the happenings in World of Warcraft that happened in the past week. Happenings.
They do tend to happen.
Yeah, they do tend to happen. And it's a good thing because we have like the beta, which is full of a lot of events, plus some nice, real cool ass interviews. And, well, we kind of want to do this for a maximum of 2 hours. It really depends on what topics we have.
How long
at
we
hand.
end up chatting about things. Yeah,
usually what tends to happen is like before, you know, we prep all of this shit up as listen, man, let's talk about this and that and this and then the other. And then we get so deep into one topic with the other topics.
Time's up. Yeah. But we had like 5 other things.
Yeah, it's basically our little news show where we like, you know, pick each other's brains on the whatever happened in World of Warcraft. It's been streamed both on YouTube and on Twitch. The VOD will remain on the Marcelian Online YouTube if you want to watch the full thing. We're gonna have like small clips or small segments edited out of the whole thing and put on the other channel, which is youtube.com/@Marcelian&Flame. And the big chunky ones, the juicy topics, those are going to go into a better production process and will become proper videos on the Marcelian Online YouTube channel. So I guess with this, we kind of get best of both worlds. And in this case, best of three worlds, because there's the streams, there's the videos, there's the clips, and the VODs, there's everything.
We can have our cake and eat it too.
Yes. All right, Flame, what are we talking about today?
Well, today, there's been a bunch of interviews. Well, one big interview really with Mythic plus affixes that have been announced that I don't know what the talking points are, but I have seen the headlines and they're looking kind of spicy and I'm kind of excited, but he knows what's going on. So we're going to...
No, I don't know shit.
Oh, you don't watch it either?
I read some of it. I've seen some of the... I haven't seen any YouTube videos or anything, but I also have seen the titles and stuff. And I know how YouTube works because... we do YouTube, and we know
it's a little bit clickbaity.
Yeah, we know the clickbaity part
of
it. It's fine. This is how, unfortunately, how the YouTube works. But it is about Mythic Plus, and from what I understood, reading like from a bird's eye view, because I haven't went through all of it, because doing a million things. But the vibe I got from both Ion Hazzikostas and Morgan Day was that they kind of don't like what's happening with the Mythic Plus affixes.
They don't like what's happening or the feedback that they're getting?
I think they're very aware of the initial reception of the affixes. And
of people dying in 0.3 seconds from Thorn.
We have proof. I don't know if Cabal is with us, but Cabal, the poor guy, I've seen the footage.
He tested it. He suffered for everybody to know that the affixes are not quite.
Not that they're chief. But anyway, so yeah, we are talking about the interview that Wowhead conducted with Ion Hazzikostas and Morgan Day, which is all about Mythic Plus and Mythic Plus affixes. And when we talk about Mythic Plus, it's basically kind of like understood, like affixes play like a big part. If you don't have affixes, it's kind of like not Mythic
Plus.
Part
and parcel, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So let's kick it off and see exactly where the stuff starts. Now, Wowhead does do their interviews on the site kind of differently. You don't see the question and answer. Basically, they put the context in and then they give an answer to the context. So we'll follow like that, all right?
Cool.
So, blah, 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 blah. And so, when we were given the opportunity to discuss the war within with Morgan Day and Ion Hazzikostas, we give them some time to discuss the overarching philosophy of affixes in Mythic Plus and their plans for them in the future. And it seems like they have some large plans in the works. All right. So what we got initially is not it. That's thank God. All right.
Just the testing period. Yeah.
Okay. Let's
Sounds
see what's
exciting.
Of course. Let's see what because this is it, right? We don't get the proper information, but we kind of like get their intent, right? Much more than with what we read initially. But let's see what Ion had to say in this first one. So this is Ion Hazzikostas' quote. This has obviously been a huge topic in the community in recent weeks. And it's been a huge topic within the WoW team in recent weeks. Coinkydink? I think not. We're far from done when it comes to the current state of beta. We're looking to roll out a couple of more pretty significant swings in how we approach affixes and the Mythic Plus system. So this is very important on the wording here. Significant things on how they approach affixes and the Mythic Plus system.
Oh my God, that just gets my juices rolling, man, because they didn't really announce big things when they removed the seasonal affix, and that was pretty big when they removed the seasonal affix.
We don't know. This is the thing. We'll have to.
We can speculate, but
we'll read through the lines and speculate. So, as testing continues in the coming weeks, I don't want to get ahead of spoiling what all those will be, but stay tuned for some forum and blog updates in the next couple of beta builds. All right.
Oh my God.
We can hold on. We can go further on what the Morgan Day had to say. Or we can start speculating now. I think we need a little bit more context.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
So don't worry, guys. Just follow the interview. Now, Morgan Day also mentioned some of the reasons that they had picked the affixes in the level 7 bucket from last week's announcement, mentioning that they didn't want any additional adds or mechanics that could occur. No additional nameplates, no volcanic or quaking that could occur. We know that from the post. Instead, the affixes that they kept have a consistent, unique property that affects all trash equally and is easy to understand. Now, let's see what he actually had to say. This is in regards to the last announcement from last week. Okay.
All right.
So to speak to the post that we made, I think one of the major design goals that we could try to reiterate on more is that we were trying not to create new nameplates in the gameplay space. We're not trying to create things that might be considered an ability or mechanic on a boss fight. You're not spawning a new ad. There's not quaking or volcanic where this is where feel like this. I think the wording is a little bit quaking or volcanic where you feel like these mechanics that are kind of just happening. The things that we wanted to focus on were things that felt more like an overarching rule change, like all trash in the dungeon behaves in this way or reacts in this way, and you can plan for that really easily. It's not something that would surprise you. You can hopefully approach the pools differently or approach the dungeon differently to combat those affixes. That was really where we were focusing on when we did keep some of those affixes that were in those current level 7 buckets. So this is the context of everything that was kept inside, right? And then he gave a little bit more. We understood from the get-go why they put those there, and I think we kind of detailed why we were basically okay with some of them. Some of them were meh. At the end of the day, doesn't really matter.
Props to people who were able to test the 7+7 bucket affixes.
Yeah, well, it's okay. So let's get back to what Ion Hazzikostas said over there.
All right.
So significant swings in approaching affixes and the Mythic Plus system. Now, what do you think that could mean?
Well, first of all, it would explain why we have no Mythic Plus testing this week. I hope this is why, because we're going to have it next week. It's a little bit soon. I mean, they say future builds, but how far into the future can you do that, considering that the release is fairly close?
It's getting next week.
It's like I want my juices to roll all over the place, but it would have to be like they would probably address Fortified and Tyrannical, I would imagine, because that's probably some of the most controversial affixes, although I feel like those are the ones that make the most sense because, dungeon increases in level, everybody has more HP, has more damage, that's standard. But whenever I think Mythic Plus system, I think of loot, and I don't know if that's also part of the plan.
Yeah, for me, that was the checkmate move over there. Okay, I can understand when they want to take big swing at Mythic Plus affixes, but the Mythic Plus system, now how can you take a big swing at the Mythic Plus system? That's like, what is the Mythic Plus system? It's basically pushing a dungeon, a key of a dungeon, like to a bigger and bigger number, to get better loot. It's basically
endlessly scaling and repeatable content that you just do with probably slight variances going from week to week to offer some replayability factor, and then just get loot, ideally in a similar manner that you would get loot from raiding as well. So that's how they tune, the drop chance and things like that, rewarding higher keys. We know for sure that they don't like big numbers, so they don't like people pushing 30s and even higher, which is why they're consistently nerfing the key level. They've done a lot of work with revitalizing the Mythic Plus system since 10.2.5 or 10.2.7, 10.2.5, basically season 4 that we have right now. And that's definitely not something that just thought of overnight. So it's basically something that's been on the work for a long time, probably prepping the way in going into this Mythic Plus system. Because once again, I don't think they've released the affixes last week and then just like, okay, fuck it, let's just do a whole new system, right? They definitely have been thinking about it for a while. Yeah. And the fact that these affixes came in as they're most likely working on the system, being a Kiss Curse affixes means that they definitely trying to revitalize how affixes impact the player experience while pushing the content. As to what that will turn into, they definitely want to keep the replayability factor, and every week there has to be some variance to how the dungeons will work. I mean, we can probably just say that they're going to do more Kiss Curse affixes that maybe have some mechanical implications outside of just buffs and nerfs, like how we had the Season 3 for BFA with the Awakened, where we could skip stuff. But in terms of system, it would have to be addressing how keys scale. I hope they address, or at least take into consideration, things like key depletion, punishing for people leaving keys and things like that, and how that affects the overall group, what it means to actually go into a key, how it contributes to vaults. Like, this is...
Yeah, well, okay, let's see what could this mean, all right? Because we do have a little bit more context from the interview. Ooh. So again, this is like how Wowhead, so they basically make a little bit of a story out of the answers they got, and then we can see the quote. So now it's basically the weekly keys versus key pushing. Let's see what they got here. So I'm going to read it out and we can talk about it. They continue to expand on some of their philosophies regarding affixes in general. Nothing that the primary purpose of affixes is not to add difficulty, but to add variety. I think they failed miserably in this department. It added stupid difficulty, which was not challenging. It was just plain annoyance in the past, I mean.
Yeah.
For the average Mythic Plus player that wants to get some loot or fill out their vault, Ian explains that they're seeing consistent participation and success rates week over week, and they believe that for this audience, affixes serve a valuable purpose in providing variety, which I found this an interesting insight, because we always talked about. Let's read further, and we'll get to it. Then they mention, this is really wrong. I'm not crazy. They then mention. Is that correctly?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
I think so.
They then mention. You think so, or you know? Because you have to give me full confidence here, man.
It sounds like it's correct. I mean,
isn't it then they mention? Is it
no,
they then mention?
Then mention
The other type of player. Okay, because this is basically more of our territory a bit. The players who like to push keys at the highest end of the system. We don't push at the highest, but we do want to push like
we
certain
try
system,
to do
wanted
levels
push.
higher every time we can.
Yeah. Whatever that be for the title or just to improve their personal best. For many years, these players have identified and valued a push week. We talked about push weeks a lot, in our circle a lot, right? A week that has favorable affixes and would allow players to push the highest keys possible. Other weeks with less favorable affixes just make the whole week feel dead, or people don't want to play because of those affixes.
Yep.
Players know that you cannot beat your best time this week. Ian addresses these concerns, noting that when you have variation from week to week, there will be some outcomes that are more favorable than others, and agrees that this is frustrating and getting in the way of enjoying the experience. Interesting. Okay. They mentioned that affixes impact these groups of players differently, with affixes like storming or bursting being considered free by high-end players, but actually having a significant impact on lower keystone success rates compared to, say, bolstering or raging. They believe that it comes down to how these groups play, with the high-end group likely going to push things to the limit and trying to pull as many groups as possible together, and affixes having different effects on different playstyles. So what's the solution? And here's a quote from Ian. I don't think the right answer is to remove affixes for all players. So obviously nobody said that you remove all the affixes.
No. I think that's right.
But okay, let's before we continue with this. So he basically like revealed that probably within like, I don't know, maybe up until +8, I would say, people really don't have a problem with affixes.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, but I don't think it's for the reason that they think it is. It's probably people don't.
They have the data, so
yeah, no. But what I mean, I think the point was made there in the article that people like affixes because the data shows that they're just doing a lot of keys. I don't think they're doing a lot of keys or they're enjoying keys because of the affixes. I think the affixes most likely are not as impactful, where they can just do the keys. I've never once done any of my hundreds and thousands of keys up
That's
until like
true,
+8s with anybody that said, dude, I just love these affixes this week, let's do it. No, everybody's like, oh, these affixes are free, let's just do some keys. Nobody has ever said, I'm gonna do keys this week because I just like these affixes. It was just the least amount of impact pushed people to play the most amount of keys. And I think after season 2 or season 3, they've just made the first bucket of affixes really almost ignorable a lot of the time, which probably pushed a lot more people to actually play, which points to the direction that, less friction is what's making people play more dungeons rather than interesting friction.
True. What is also true is that we know that in certain weeks, we always talk about, oh my God, this week is going to be easy. This is the one where we push.
Yeah.
Now, when we say push, we're not necessarily thinking of getting to like the highest keys, but especially at the beginning of a season, you do want to get that 2K. You want to get all of those achievements that enable you to get some more power, because you get gear, you get a lot of stuff.
The curio, the whatever the thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So in some regards they are right, in some other regards they're wrong. Again, as Flame mentioned, the affixes weren't really the main catalyst for people playing up until middle range keys and having great time and having great success rates. That wasn't the incentive.
They could be, though.
They could be, yes. I'm just saying that it is a reality, and I don't think it's just for the highest end players out there. I think it's for like, you know, average middle Joe who just want to do like their plus 20s, well, not 20s now, plus 10s, maybe a plus 12 or whatever. I would love that just for, you know, the accolades, the score, whatever. You do that when you know the week is the affixes from their week are a little bit more or less punishing, not in the sense that they're not as difficult, but not just as annoying.
Just don't cause too much of a barrier of entry for people to get.
That's a reality. I guess y'all can agree, right? Like everybody is looking for that, you know, super easy week on pushing keys, and this is the thing. You know, accolades or not, bragging rights or not, dude, when you have like high keys on your vault, you get the best gear.
Yeah, I think that's the main attraction of WoW, and it also applies to Mythic Plus, but it applies to pretty much every aspect of in the game. You can say whatever you want. WoW is fun to play. People like playing their spec. People like taking their DPS and doing a lot of damage. And whenever they can do that are usually weeks where the affixes are almost a non-issue, and they just play dungeons. Like, this is my feeling, playing with as many people as we can through our community and through our pug keys. They just want to have fun and play World of Warcraft. Affixes or no affixes doesn't really matter that much, because people just play no matter what. Now, my assumption is, based on the type of affixes that we've had just the other day, is that they might be looking at overhauling how affixes work, because affixes could be an incentive to play Mythic Plus, and that is true. I don't think they are currently, but
no, they're an incentive to not play Mythic Plus. This is the opposite.
So how do you swap that around? You have to make the affixes a positive buff. Like, instead of a negative affix, maybe Bucket 4 can have the positive affix. Maybe that's why they're bringing the Kiss Curse as a stepping stone to maybe positive affixes. And then the +7 or +8 or whenever they want to do the second bucket of affixes, that's, you know, the hard stoppers. That's where, you know, the content doesn't scale past this key level, but you have affixes for this that might make it harder to push.
True words indeed, my friend. We talked about this in our last podcast. And I don't think only positives is the reasoning here. You can still have some negatives around, because you have to give that. You cannot have sugar all around. Give some salt, right?
For instance,
salt and pepper.
I'm kind of a fan of Fortified and Tyrannical, which is a very hot take, because I like to swap my approach to a dungeon. Like, this week I just have to do a lot more AoE. This week I gotta kill bosses. That is, I don't know, that's fun for me as a DPS player, because I get to swap my builds around.
Yeah, but then again, you're gonna have a lot of specs which are very good at dealing with Tyrannical, but on bosses they're gonna be shit. That's not fun. Or on the other way around, you're gonna have. I know Mage does it great all across the board, my friend, but we're not all mages. You'll not have a dungeon with like 5 mages. That ain't gonna happen, Flame. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, listen.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
We'll look at that for sure. But yes, we don't know. We'd have no confirmation, but much more positives and less negatives. For sure, that's going to be, I think, one of the ways they could incentivize more people to do Mythic Plus.
If anything, I don't think they have ever been this open to new changes for Mythic Plus ever, especially considering feedback from the community. At most, they were like, we'll look into this. We'll make this affix a little, nerf it a little bit. And at the very most, they're like, okay, we'll take some shit affixes and put some other shit affixes in. But I don't think they've ever been this like, we have some systems in place ready for you guys.
Yeah.
So that's the whole part. Is like, okay, how far are they willing to?
I mean, I love it.
To take the design.
I love them for that. I love them for being open and sticking that ear out for what the community has to say. Because again, I don't think WoW is like still looking to bring in new players, or not at the moment. So it's the best strategy for them to listen to their core audience right now and see their core audience behavior and the core audience feedback. It's very important. And they started doing that for a while now, and it shows. Okay, let's carry on. It seems that they understand the problem that high key pushers seem to face here, and have also identified there are two distinct groups of people who have different goals and interact with affixes differently. You have people who are doing weekly keys that want some variation from week to week, and high key pushers that find the variation frustrating from week to week. And it looks like they're planning to make some big changes to address this.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's see a quote here. I don't think the right answer, this is from Ian. I don't think the right answer is to remove affixes for all players. However, we are discussing some solutions that may allow players who are focused on the competitive optimization and perfection aspect of the dungeon system to have less randomness and variation in their week-over-week experience. what the fuck does this mean?
The second you said that, it made me think of how the PTR servers are.
Yeah, are you going to be able to put your affixes in?
Oh my god, if they do that and
That's
if
it.
they added
That's what you want to do.
if they add in a system where based on the type of affixes you put, you can probably manipulate. First of all, obviously you're going to be manipulating your dungeon experience, but maybe even the rewards, because obviously not all affixes will be created equal.
You know, there's going to be a lot. If they do this, there's going to be a lot of restrictions. So don't just think that they'll give you the freedom to do.
But you know what's interesting is because they will have access to some data a lot more reliably, where they will probably see how many times X affix has been used as opposed to that, and then that can help them hopefully design more interesting and fun aspects, affixes rather, and see exactly what people want more directly than, okay, people just didn't push this week. Because you probably don't want to push a week, or maybe you were on vacation, you just didn't have the option. But when you play Fortified 10,000 times more than Tyrannical, then maybe there's a problem with how Tyrannical scales in high keys.
Yeah, we don't know if this will be.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It does sound like they want to like give. I think that after a certain threshold of a key, they want to give you the option to choose an affix. Now, how that will come into place, we don't know. I don't think they're going to go on the how you do it on the beta route, because it's just, But I can already imagine a game interface where you like have some options there and choose what you want to.
Your own dungeon.
Basically, some sort of like sandboxy. I know we're going a little bit stretching it here,
it's a bit
but
Minecraft,
this is like when we get excited about stuff, the flow,
juices keep flowing.
juice keeps going, man. So just imagine an interface where after a certain threshold of a key, you have the option of choosing the affixes you want in that dungeon. Okay, so if you're like the highest end key pusher, which they exemplify here, you're probably not going to want so much variation. You want to like just focus on one thing and just start doing that and bashing the head on it. On the other hand, depending on what that threshold would be for which key level would that apply to, I think that would be a great addition for all of us. Like us who like to go for a +2 after we did a 10, like try our luck in a 12 right now, right? Or 22 last season or whatever. And that would be the place where, hey man, let's try out, let's fucking kick Afflicted and whatever, Sanguine or all of that. Let's keep it on Fortified and maybe add this. But again, we don't know what they're going to change to the affixes overall, because we maybe get some positives all across the board, and that won't really matter anymore. I think this gives hope, at least, because, call us some cockeyed, optimistic bastards, but this gives me a lot of hope, man.
Dude, it's just like we can speculate and we can be wrong. It's like, oh my god, you guys are so off the mark. Like, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that this is unprecedented level of openness to design for any system in World of Warcraft. And I mean, this is not necessarily surprising if you've been paying attention to how they've approached pretty much the entire game ever since the release of Dragonflight. Not all aspects of the game design are basically as open to feedback and like, okay guys, what do you want type mentality, where we can actually say, listen, this would be cool. And they're like, done. Like there is not going to be like that all across the board. But going from... We like how the thing is, we're gonna keep it for 4 more years, to this. It's a big step.
Yeah, it's a huge step. Of course, we can be off the mark, and that's fine. Anybody can be off the mark at this point because they didn't provide any information. They're just setting out the groundwork here. We don't know what that would mean. But for us, as super hyped up, geeked, anything open for change that would improve the experience we like to have in this game, we want to give like the best positive and overwhelming joyful outcome. And if that means give us a nice sweet graphic interface with all of that, I can already see it, man, like little animations like this affix says this, so not boring icons, just like something like that, and make it choose it, and I can see it. Even that experience in and of itself could be amazing.
You know what's funny as well? I don't know how much, because they're probably not going to say this publicly, because they would probably shoot themselves in the foot from a PR perspective, but I'm curious to see how much WoW Remix has influenced them, because that is an example of customizing your own gameplay.
Oh, for sure.
Obviously, it's not the same, but you're essentially customizing your own gameplay experience. And you can take that concept and put it into Mythic Plus, customize your own Mythic Plus experience. And then you can just burst a bunch of ideas in how you want to approach the dungeon. Because let's be honest, it's fun. Yeah. It's fun.
Who would have thought in this lifetime that in an RPG, customization of anything is good.
Revolutionary.
Yeah, it's like
I wonder if
something-
anybody else is doing this.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? How many years they took them to make this? But anyways, we have to like carry on because there is some speculation on the Wowhead article, and they
Ooh,
kind
I
of
wonder what they say.
Yeah, they have kind of like their thing here. So let's see. Some brief speculation, as nothing has been confirmed. But on the beta, we had one of Fortified and Tyrannical be added at level 2, while the other one was added at level 10. Pum pum pum. I don't think you noticed this. I think most people thought this was just a bug, but this would, in theory, make less variation and allow Blizzard to more easily tune the high-end key pushing experience since it has less variation. However, this was never confirmed to be a bug or not on beta. In a similar fashion, they could reduce or remove the affix rotation from high keys, which would address the concerns that they mentioned above. So that can also be a thing.
I definitely thought it was a bug, considering that the FX change and all, like, is this?
Yeah, they
Maybe
never-
they just
they-
want more data. No.
Yeah, they never confirmed that if it was a bug or
Interesting.
not. And it could be because you did say that, they put in these affixes knowing that they already had something cooking in the oven, but they just
Yeah.
put this bullshit out there to see like the torture people would feel. And then this is a tactic they do sometimes. They put you in that torture chamber and then, hey guys, no, really, this is what we want you to play. And it's like, then, oh, Blizzard, you listen to us. But they kind of already were working at something. So
It's kind of going to your parents and saying you got an F mark, but it's like, nah, I was joking. I just got a C. So it's still shit, but you smooth out the entrance first.
Okay, now we have here the stop meta, which basically means stop casters from casting, kicking.
Oh
all
my
of that.
God, yes.
It's an interesting discussion here as well. So let's see. In previous expansions, before Dragonflight, when a player used a stun or displacement ability on a mob that was casting, it would likely just start to cast that ability again once the CC effect was over. The only way to truly stop the cast was to use an interrupt spell like Counterspell. However, in Dragonflight, a decision was made to make most, if not all mobs, not recast their ability if they were CC'd out of their cast. This had some interesting impacts on the meta, as most interrupts weren't handled by proper interrupts, but now by stops, and notably AoE CC abilities. Vengeance Demon Hunter, anyone? Did we see that in the meta?
Clear, no. Must be a mistake.
Why coordinate single target interrupts or stuns when an AoE CC ability can do it? This change had an impact on the classes that were desired. We asked Ion Hazzikostas and Morgan Day about the prevalence of stops in Dragonflight and if there were any plans to address this in the War Within. So let's see what Ion had to say. The team had started designing specific abilities in dungeons to go on cooldown when the spell cast began, no matter what. So if you stopped the cast in any matter, whatever it was, a death gripping the mob or seeing it, it would go on cooldown just as if it had been interrupted. That is still appropriate in some circumstances, but the increasing proliferation in dungeons is what kind of created this incredibly powerful utility that has been to dictate perceived optimal comms in the last couple of years. So they know, they see, if Blizzard doesn't have the data on what the fuck is going on over there, who does, right?
All right.
Okay. So we've been designing War Within Dungeons to move back closer to how things used to be in that regard. Still doing it where it's appropriate, but not defaulting to have all abilities go on cooldown when the cast starts. These tools should still be tremendously powerful tools for disrupting, for managing, for relocating enemies in a dungeon, but they shouldn't be the answer to nearly every problem that you're presented in a way that reduces viable comp diversity. So what he's saying is going back to, you stop the mob from casting, after he gets out of that CC or whatever, he casts immediately.
Well, I think they're just going to take a closer look at what exactly are the casts that cannot continue after you stop them, whether it is with an interrupt or a stun, so that you don't get to abuse your AoE stuns consistently, bringing other classes into a Mythic Plus being more favorable than other classes that don't have access to AoE stops all of the time. So this sounds like they're going to be even more... let's say, micro-tuning every little thing of the dungeon.
Yeah, that sounds like a problem to me, hombre. This is a problem because we already addressed this in Mythic Plus, a big issue, and I know Quasi did a video on this as well, and I think Jack also did. So the amount of things that happen in a dungeon sometimes rivals what happens in a raid. I'm talking Mythic Plus here.
Oh yeah, that pack that has like 4 different mechanics.
And now add to this the fact that they're going back to the fact that after the cast is being interrupted, it immediately starts casting again.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
okay, so if you're not gonna tone down all of the fucking different million trillion different casts from trillion different tillion mobs, we're gonna have a problem, son. This is. I'm just saying.
You're gonna have to learn which ones need to be interrupted, which one needs to be stunned. So
yes,
that's
it's because if they tune it in such a way, and from what we tested so far, the Mythic Plus tuning is way off the mark.
It's slightly off.
We know 4 of the dungeons. Well, we know all of the dungeons because we tested it on beta, but we know some casts from previous expansions. Now, if those casts will not be tuned properly and you're going to have to use like a million different kicks, because, okay, having to use kicks on rotation, that's fine. You know, it's part of your utility. It's part of like what makes you a good player, right? But you only have 5 kicks. And
if you have 5
if
kicks.
you have, yeah, sure,
Priests,
okay.
nah.
Kicks, okay, you have some CC or whatever. Now, if you're pulling a big pack where you have at least 4 mobs with 4 different casts, so you have 4 mobs, and each of those 4 mobs have 2 spells they cast, from different schools or whatever. So that's 8 casts, right? And this is not something far-fetched. This is a reality. This has happened plenty of times in the game. Now, you use everything. Use the kicks. Use the CCs. Everything. At some point, everything goes on DR. You have it on cooldown. On that CC effect will have no effect whatsoever. And you're telling me that the cast is going to start immediately after? This is why I see as a problem. Like, okay, I know the other problem is like, okay, just bring in more Vengeance Demon Hunters. Although they got nerfed.
More melee meta.
Yeah, just bring in the AOE CC. No, that's not the issue. Just tone down the cast. Okay, enough already. We got it. We've been tortured. Enough. I feel, dude, seriously, like some of the Dragonflight dungeons, like as much as I love some of them, dude, it felt in some instances that it was more than raiding. Like the amount of, like, if you pull big packs, like
it might be Azure Vault because you have those everybody's
Azure
just
Vault
casting
is a good,
a bunch
Azure
of
Vault
stuff.
is a good example. I think in Nokud, I think there was the packs with the birds and the
oh yeah, the first that's a good
casts.
example. The first pool in Nokud, you have an rage kick, a stun kick that you have to do, and you have the fixate birds
again,
as well.
It's fine. Okay, it's absolutely fine. But please tone it down. If you're gonna have a million different casts of whatever the fuck, just tone them down.
I think they're constantly still underestimating the amount of fun that people have by just pulling a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to pull a lot of stuff all the time, but we are already capped at how much stuff we can hit at once with, deals less damage beyond 8 targets or 5 targets, or deals no damage beyond X amount of targets. Listen, it's fine. But when you add these types of mechanics where you need a certain amount of kicks that your group doesn't have, or a certain amount of stops that your group doesn't have, you already are actually indirectly limiting how many mobs a party can pull. And if you're able to actually pull more than that, then that just speaks to your skill level, and I think that should be rewarded with the skill expression that you have to fight a lot of mobs. So this is not anything new. I'm curious to see how this will be implemented in the upcoming Mythic Plus testing phases, to see exactly how that feels, because it was also very hard to feel how these casts work now, considering they just chunk you.
You cannot. That's what I'm saying. You cannot do shit now. You cannot really draw any conclusions now.
Yeah.
This is why we make shows like these and videos and whatever. This is the time where you feedback and talk about these problems. Okay, I can get why they don't like to see only like Vengeance Demon Hunters all the time running around in the melee meta or wherever, just to have like more AoE CC. They get that. They don't want
anymore.
that. Yeah, well, Vengeance got nerfed, sure, but that's not like if you're gonna go on stopping the stop cast meta. If you're gonna go back to like, okay, they're not gonna have cooldowns anymore after the being CC'd. Like after the CC ends, they start casting again. If it's gonna have the same impact as we had in previous dungeons, then we're gonna have a problem. Big ass problem. Die. Yeah. Okay. It seems like the goal is to pull back some of the impact of stops in Mythic Plus by making some mobs recast their abilities. This does add an additional burden of knowledge on the player, having to learn and remember what can and can't be stopped. We didn't even touch on this, but it seems better than the alternative of a hyper focus on AoE CC abilities. Morgan Day then goes on to explain that in doing this, it won't just be in a vacuum. They'll also be taking a look at things like cast timers, recast times, and how dungeons and how dangerous they are, and can make adjustments there. Okay, this is a good point. I'm happy Morgan kind of underlined this, because yes, how dangerous they are and where they can make adjustments. Because cast timers is one thing if they cast, but you have that affix with haste.
Yeah, with a 30% haste.
It's kind of like weird. Recast timers and how dangerous. So this is actually my point. If you're gonna make those casts not as punishing, so make them enough punishing so that it's important for you to use something. But if everything you have is on cooldown, you're not gonna die if that cast goes through. That's what I'm saying. Is that too much? Is it too much?
It just reminds me of trying to tank 5 frost bolts constantly, again and again and again and again. Oh, but I've stunned them. Yeah, but they're casting again.
Right. So let's. I think after this like the full on answers. We can go on this, but it's
a fat answer.
It's basically like what the Wowhead kind of like just made the TLDR. Okay. Yeah. So it's all good. Now we can actually talk about like what is to come. So we kind of stopped on every point and addressed this. So obviously there's going to be some big swings at the affixes. They haven't said anything about the affixes. They said about the experience players have at different levels of keys and whatever, but we won't, like, we already speculated on what that could mean. If they're going to give us the options to choose our affixes, fine. If they're going to have like one affix be available at key level 2 and the other at level 10, okay, that's another thing. If they're going to remove altogether some affix variations from it, we don't know. But what about the actual affixes? Like the ones we have tested on the beta? Because that's a big concern after we tested them.
Yeah, they're going to have to be tuned, because the one that we obviously...
Just fuck them! Rid of them!
Well, listen, people have been asking for Sanguine to go away, and we can probably brainstorm a bunch of affixes to kind of get rid of, but I don't think they've added 4 new affixes just to completely get rid of them, although I would be surprised, and I'm open for getting rid of the Thorn. But we've talked about this last week as well, because depending on how these affixes get tuned, they can be a non-issue, they can be incredibly punishing. The bonuses don't really seem to be equal across the board. So I don't know if they're testing curse affixes in general, or maybe they want to promote spec diversity and,
They always want to promote spec diversity. They never manage to do it. We've been through so many beta launch cycles on expansions. Every time the same old bullshit. Like, everybody comes in and play and whatever. And we all know that when the season starts and people get geared, there's not going to be no goddamn class diversity nowhere. You're going to have augmentation there. That's it. That's your diversity.
5 augmentations. One of them
That's not going to happen. Class diversity is going to be right up until like the +8s and +9s and whatever. After that, you know how LFG works, and the biggest players, the majority of players play through LFG. This is the reality.
Yeah,
it's not like we have our own little group and we play. That's
and we can play Feral in our group. How about that?
Yeah, we're like not part of the 1%, but we are a minority because we have our gang of friends who we play with. The majority of people are doing their keys through the LFG. There is no diversity there. There's
always going to be discrimination. You cannot stop that, and that has to speak a lot to the core design of Mythic Plus, which is timed content, and if you fail, you get giga punished. First of all, your key gets depleted, you get less loot, and you have wasted your time. So the discrimination cannot be addressed with affixes. They would have to address the Mythic Plus system at its core. And what that means is no more key depletion, which I think somebody asked them about, I think was the Zeppelin interview, and they said that they're happy with key depletion, which is not a very reassuring answer to this particular issue, because key depletion also forces levers in the key, because they just wait. The getting punished for failing a key is way too much for the reward that you're getting, so it incentivizes people to like try to predict, this key is gonna go to shit, so I'm just out of here. So you're never gonna get rid of those levers. You're never gonna get rid of like, if we fail this key, we get less loot, and it turns into a lower key that we have to do again to bring it back to the level that we were before. So I just don't want to risk it on bringing a Feral, so I'm just gonna bring a Firemate, right? So that's how people are thinking. You're not gonna get rid of them like, but this affix affects Feral better on a third of the mobs. I don't know. I don't think so.
It's not gonna happen, man. This is. if they keep going on their route, so the whole problem we talked about last time is the schools of magic they put on with arcane damage, with bleed damage, with holy shadow, whatever. That's such
Holy
bullshit
shit.
that I'm hoping they're aware that that needs to change completely. I think we talked about it. Why not just put in more damage? That affix has like the curse one, so one change, but obviously the curse should be not as impactful. If we're gonna go that route, you said you want just positives. I say okay, not only positives because too much sugar, have some negatives into it, but not as impactful, right? So then instead of holy damage, bleeding damage, just add the damage, add the fucking damage, stop the discrimination, and that's it.
Everybody does more damage.
Everybody, yeah.
That's that. But see, that's the thing.
That's
because
boring.
It won't. It's boring, but it also won't scale the same for everybody. Like doing more damage for somebody that's like a fire mage, it's gonna matter more the way it scales, and as opposed to I don't know.
I mean,
an arms warrior.
We'll get to arms warrior for sure. I just feel like in terms of like what they're going to do, I feel like this is the main thing they'll do. They'll remove the schools of magic. I will be very surprised if they keep that bullshit.
That's way
in.
too niche, way too specific, and there's too many specs in the game to have affixes that apply to everybody equally.
And that on top of the fact that they need to do something that would incentivize the healers and tanks, especially the healers.
That would be the main thing to address.
If they don't focus on that, and for the longest time that has been one of the biggest issues in WoW content, like random looking for group content. These are the rare, like you always find DPS, you never find healers and tanks. Now it was more problematic in Dragonflight, specifically with healers, because Dragonflight for healers was not a good time overall. All right, we won't talk about what we know about the changes to healing, maybe in a different podcast. But coming back to the affixes. I really hope that, listen, for me as a DPS, I don't really care that much if an affix will buff me or not, really. I rather rely on, my kit, my tier set, my whatever, to have like the biggest damage overall.
That's what you want to engage with. You want to play
I
your
don't
class.
care about an external factor or whatever which would buff me. But I would care that if that buff would be translated into some sort of like healing or healing over time or absorption or something that what a healer would benefit and get more gratitude from, that would be much more impactful for me as a DPS, because I know healers would be there to queue up with me.
True.
Give me that.
What's something that I don't hear people talk about is the dichotomy between raiding and Mythic Plus, because for the longest time, PvE has been about raiding. Dungeons were kind of like an afterthought until Mythic Plus was introduced and until it actually picked up steam and actually competed with raiding. And even if it does compete with raiding, there are probably people that just play Mythic Plus and probably people that just play raiding, but there's probably way more that just do both. And the problem is, let's take Mythic raiding as an example, but you can probably talk about Flex raiding as well. In a 20-man raiding team, you have 2 tanks and 4 healers or 5 healers, 4 healers, right?
4 sometimes, 5
you have
depends.
2 tanks for 20 people, but in dungeon you have 1 tank for 5 people. You would need to equivalent that you need 4 tanks in a 20-man raid to kind of keep the ratio between people maining tanks and people maining DPSers, etc., etc. Although the healer ratio kind of maintains slightly. You kind of want 1 healer for every 5 people. But in dungeons, that's not the same. So there's always going to be a mismatch of the ratio. So until we are incentivizing more people to play tanks or play healers or, off-rolls, not to mention that when those are even punishing, that, creates even a bigger discrepancy between DPS players and tank players, then that's never going to change. And affixes could be a start to that.
Yeah.
Or changing the system entirely. I hit the microphone. For Mythic Plus.
Did you?
A little bit. I just I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize to you. But until that changes, I don't think we're gonna solve the biggest problem, because sure, there's discrimination between I want a feral in this group or I want an augmentation, but until you can get that feral, you still need a tank, and there could be a lot of ferals left over, but if they have a tank, they'll probably still be able to do a dungeon.
Just wrapping it up with the affixes. Cannot wait for next week on beta to see what they come up. I'm excited as well to see what's their plan. I'm just saying it. We're gonna be giga disappointed if they keep those bullshit ass arcane damage, fire, holy shadow.
He's upset because he's playing Unholy.
Well, you don't know that, my friend. We have things. Nobody knows at this point, right? Unholy is like the main dish, but okay. So this rounds it up for the Mythic Plus situation. Hopefully, we're gonna have a lot more things to come, and hopefully for the better. Now, the other cherry here is Gamescom. So
yes.
we know there's not going to be no BlizzCon this year.
Unfortunately,
yes. We were kind of like, how to put this? So I don't think they're gonna make major announcements at Gamescom, because I think their preferred method now is to just have their own little live streams on their channels and announce it like that.
There's not much bigger that they can announce that we don't expect to have announced at Gamescom anyway. So
yeah. However, we do have confirmation that on this year was Gamescom, we're gonna have World of Warcraft and Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. We're gonna talk World of Warcraft, although I would love to talk about Diablo 4, trust me. But we have to talk about World of Warcraft and what would this mean? Because let's read out their statement, and we'll carry on from there. So Blizzard Entertainment is thrilled to confirm their presence at this year's Gamescom, returning to Cologne in celebration of two of their hottest launches of 2024, WoW: The War Within and Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. This year's show promises to bring even more excitement, as Blizzard Entertainment will have a robust footprint alongside other Xbox game studios in the Xbox booth. So they're both at the Xbox booth as they come together to celebrate upcoming games and connect with the community in Europe and around the world. We are incredibly excited to bring Warcraft, Diablo, and Overwatch
to Xbox.
Does anybody play Overwatch anymore? To our European community at Gamescom, said Joanna Ferries, president of Blizzard Entertainment. It's wonderful to be able to travel to Cologne, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know it's wonderful to travel. Okay. World of Warcraft will be celebrating the launch of The War Within, the first entry in the ambitious World Soul saga, with the global launch set for August 26th, one day after Gamescom. We'll talk about that. It's the perfect opportunity for the community to celebrate together. Players with the Epic Edition or physical collector's editions of The War Within can play with, that's the early access thing, right?
On the 22nd.
You can go 23rd of August. 23rd. Diablo will also be in full force at the events. Bring in the World, okay. Overwatch 2, blah, blah, blah. Right, so let's get the elephant out of the room. Do they have any other things to show off or announce prior to the launch?
One day before, like 2 days before it launches, I would be very surprised.
I mean, it could not be anything gameplay feature, because there's no you cannot
be already
introduce.
in pre-patch by that point.
Yeah, pre-patch is going to be
Your
there.
talent's installed and ready to go, unless they're going to be announcing 11.1 or a totally different game mode. That would be a little bit early and would take away from the hype of the actual release of the expansion. So it cannot be. So they cannot announce anything that would take away attention from the actual release of the game. So it would have to be something that it will come with the game that hasn't been announced yet.
Yes.
Otherwise, it would be bad for marketing.
Well, what do you think that could be?
It's a very good question, man. It would definitely have to be something that gets people excited to play World of Warcraft, because that's the whole point. Something that they didn't announce yet, but they don't need to announce. So something that doesn't require player testing or player feedback. So something clearly positive or as a bonus.
Yeah, I say they will show off a kick-ass cinematic. Probably something regards with the sword.
Would it be something related to that?
They won't have. So there's going to be so much information and hype already within the launch. They're going to have to put out something out there to just give you that overarching event on, okay, you're going in a couple of days, you'll find out what the hell is going on. This is something that will await you. So it's either going to be a cliffhanger of sorts, a semi-conclusion or something, but I can almost guarantee it's going to be some sort of like kick-ass cinematic. And as much as I liked the cinematic for The War Within, you know, the one with Thrall and Anduin and so on.
One?
Yeah, it had a lot of emotion, definitely. So it was miles above the Dragonflight one. It didn't
really say anything about The War Within.
I want that meat, man. I want that epicness, right? I just want. Listen, I want something to be like, to really get me pumping, right? And I think a lot of people are waiting for that. We've seen a little bit with the beta trailer and the Shadow and Fury trailers and whatever. Like, you know, when you see the CGI rendered Xalotad face, you know, with the
orbs,
the orbs, that was pretty cool. So I think we're gonna see that cinematic, but the full one, because we saw just a little bit of it. I feel that's part of like a bigger cinematic. And that would probably be something that...
And would that be the launch cinematic?
The launch cinematic, exactly. This is where I was going with it, because we always have a launch cinematic. We like when the game launches,
For sure.
you have like the full-on cinematic, the scope. Like when you launch the game with the new expansion on, the first thing that happens on your screen is the brand new cinematic. It's not the one you saw on BlizzCon. It's not the one you saw on the beta trailer. No, it's the launch one. The ones that get you hyped up. Go play the War Within, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's what's missing with the War Within right now. And I feel that will be shown here. Plus, we have some unofficial insight that the people working on the event there said that they working very hard to make this event a special one for the WoW community. I don't know what that means. This is all the information I got. Okay,
considering all the context that we have right now for World of Warcraft, with Metzen being on board, with 3 expansions and a big story,
I love
and
Metzen.
things going back home to what WoW used to feel for everybody. This is, I mean, it's copium, but it's a little bit reassuring, and I'm actually getting excited about it because you know what's interesting?
You hear me talking and you get excited.
It's a little bit, that's how it works.
We speak the same language here. Don't you want that cinematic to like, let's go?
Well, the cool part about it is that we've had the Anduin and Thrall one, but we still had the fully rendered Zaltat one. But where is that? Because how many fully rendered cinematics do they do for an expansion launch, right? So either there's a big one that holds both of them, or for the would it be for the first time that we have two not launch, but 2 early fully rendered cinematic for a game? Because the last time we've had more than one was BFA, right?
BFA had a lot of them. Yeah, no, well, through the whole expansion, we had a lot of like cool ass rendered cinematics. It's such a shame. BFA would have been such a, oh my god, they butchered that expansion. That could have been one of the best. Honest to God, that could have been one of the best, but not during here. So yeah, big ass cinematic, but I really hope they address that sword. Do you think they're going to address the sword?
Well, they've memed it so much, man. And they're putting so much tension there, right? It's like, they even have the shirts with what sword.
Yeah, at BlizzCon, Ian came up with what sword. I mean, what more do you have?
I mean, you're not going to make a cinematic with Anduin and Thrall looking at the sword and then make what sword is like, oh, just wait until last time. And what? No.
Well, come on, man. It's in the opening cinematic. They look at it and there's something there. Now, again, what we've seen on the beta and what was data mined, there's nothing of sorts in the game. Like when you play, you don't have much to anything to interact with the big sword, unless I've missed something. So if they're gonna throw out a cinematic that involves somehow the sword, it has to be at some point, interpreted within the game. You cannot just.
That's what I was thinking about, because if they're gonna do anything game related with the sword, it would have to be like a quest chain that interacts somehow with the world, that has some impact in the world. That's normally something that you have to kind of test.
Yeah.
If it's like phasing related, because you're changing something, maybe the sword.
Okay, drop the sword idea is not going to happen. But that won't take away the fact that they need some sort of meaty, epic ass cinematic on the launch. Because Gamescom is like what? From 21st to 25th, and the official launch of the expansion is on the 26th. You said it. We're all going to be in the pre-patch at that point, so we're going to be very familiar with what's happening all around. People who bought the collectors and the Epic Edition, whatever, will already be in the game. So what can they possibly give us, like, to get us more? Because usually around the launch of a new expansion, you're already hyped as fuck. You already got on board everybody to get back in and give it another try because it sucked and whatever.
You know what?
Yeah.
Somebody in chat pointed this out, and I'm thinking about it, and it doesn't really.
Who? I want to know who.
I think it was Rack, also a new sub. Thank you. How likely it would be to be any version of a movie series possible that would include fully rendered, because we have a lot of
movie version. What do you mean? Announcement.
Not like a Netflix show or anything like that, but anything that would involve having more than one fully rendered cinematic before an expansion releases.
You mean something like the Harbingers thing?
Probably, but in this case, fully rendered, something that has no relevance to you playing the video game whatsoever, because it doesn't need to be fully tested, but it could be a way of selling the story.
See, listen. I would love that, and I think we made a couple of videos on that, and I'm pretty sure that there's some shit in the works regarding that.
For sure.
What they're saying here, so I'm just going off of the announcement, okay? They are saying like they're gonna be there with World of Warcraft: The War Within. Now, if you're saying that this is going to be some sort of like movie type series that will link in War Within, that would be cool. But if they're gonna do that, I feel like the route they're gonna follow is probably gonna be the same one as they did with all the other expansions, like Harbingers, right? Like the 1, 2, and 3, or whatever.
Those launch before the expansion launches. Like I think we had that for Legion before. Like we've had the Drag Theater Legacies before the Dragonflight release, right? We had like an episode every week or something like that.
Yeah. Well, this is okay. So. We can all agree here, if they're going to show something, it cannot be any gameplay feature or something gameplay related. It's going to have to be something lore related, story related, and our best money would be on a cinematic.
Yeah.
Some sort, okay, or an announcement of something, but it will have to do something with the story or the lore, right?
Even if the cinematic is supposed to be tied to some gameplay feature, it cannot be at launch. It would have to be something that pull people into playing the expansion. Maybe like a future tidbit for a story. It's like I don't think they're gonna announce like 11.5 anything related that.
No. That's gonna be very premature to do that.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. Imagine it like this. In the past, when BlizzCon was still happening, you would have a launch, let's say in September or October, okay? But BlizzCon was always in November. So all the time, all of the announcements of future content of that recent released expansion would happen at BlizzCon, and it would always be at the very maximum a 0.1 patch. You would see the 0.5 patch or whatever, and you would see some glimpse of the 0.1 patch, okay? You cannot really do that now because you're gonna be on the precipice of launch.
It cannot be that. That's why I'm thinking like it cannot be anything necessarily gameplay related that we'll have access to. Or
if you're gonna show anything that's beyond 11.0, you're gonna spoil it for everybody.
You're gonna first of all spoil it and kind of make a divisive. You're gonna break apart the people's hype with the game. Are you gonna make them excited to play 11.0 or excited to play 11.1? So that's a little bit weird because they have to kind of.
You're gonna have some people. Well, fuck it. I'm just gonna wait until that page comes around. So yeah.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that they've been playtesting a lot of events in game, but then that's also game related. Like Plunderstorm and WoW Remix. Like it's only separate.
Question. Now I see. You bring that up. I feel what they do with those. They take very small doses of these and place them very subtly at the moment in the game. You cannot really see that like as full-on features.
No.
Yeah, so I think like philosophically they take a lot of ideas from there, but like actual like practical stuff, it's very, very difficult. And I think they're very happy with that. I think they want to keep these things apart, right? So you're gonna have that could be an interesting announcement actually, some sort of like event or whatever, like a different game mode but related somehow to War Within, like one was like Plunderstorm or Remix. That could be a thing. I can see that.
The coolest part about it is that we're trying to rack our brain and we cannot figure out exactly what it could be. And the fact that they're unpredictable is a good thing, because we could probably have predicted a lot of stuff that they would have announced 2 years ago,
we predicted
4 years
a lot
ago.
Of stuff actually, my friend. We have.
But that's what I mean. We could have done that years before, but now it's kind of like anything can happen. They've been doing so many things that nobody have expected in the last year, even that we don't know exactly what they could be cooking up. And I think that speaks a little bit to how cool the team has evolved and brought the overall WoW and the IP to where it is now.
Speaking of. Are you familiar with the leadership in WoW?
Are you talking about John Hyde? Yeah,
because that happened. That
happened a while. It's 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it happened, but we haven't really talked about it.
That's not a very good moment. But
yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. I felt a little bit sad. I don't know why, because I think like he was like part of the corporate side of things, but. Whenever you saw him talk about WoW or address it, and I think like the most authentic or genuine interview that I saw him in was the one with Preach, when Preach went to LA and interviewed him and Holly and Ian as well. And from that, because we all love Preach, like when he does his interviews, he's not sugarcoated at all. He just go right to the point. Yeah. And I know he said that they really expected that from them. They didn't place out any like prior questions or whatever. And how John Hyde conducted himself then, and I really felt that he cared a lot for the franchise and stuff. And also like after when was it all of the announcement for War Within and all of that, like last year when we had the IGN interview and stuff, and he talked about the World of Warcraft franchise for the Warcraft franchise for the next 20 years, and the fact that things like Star Wars, not recently, are a big inspiration. The Marvel universe, not recently, are a big inspiration as well. It was inspiring, and he was the one to talk about that. He was the one to say, look, listen, we are exploring all
the future
avenues.
Is bright.
Yeah, the future is bright, and we have, like, he basically indirectly confirmed, yes, they are working at or having projects pitched in for movies, for series and all of that. And to see him go or leave, because he wasn't kicked out, he decided to leave, it kind of like puts a question mark on, are they going to carry on? Because we don't know if anybody replaced him in that role. He was like, what was the head of the Warcraft franchise, basically. Because I don't know the official title, but he was the head of the Warcraft franchise. And I know that means a lot of suit. I know that means a lot of corporate. But again, if you look at his biography and where he was and how he came to the WoW team, I think he came in 2012 with Mist, if I'm not mistaken, and how he progressed through the company and stuff, I think he was pretty much legit in a lot of ways. And again, he definitely convinced me within the Preach interview, just putting it out there. Who's going to come after him? Is there going to be an Xbox fellow coming in? Because we have Holly, and I love Holly. We talk with Holly. Holly's great. I mean, if the responsibility is going to go to Holly, and it's just going to be her,
and it's going to be,
I have 100%
plate is going to
faith.
be full, but yeah.
Holly is an OG MMO player, first of all.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she knows like how MMOs work from the get-go. She knows modern MMOs. She knows old ass MMOs. She knows the tricks, and she's been around in the industry, especially tied really to like MMOs and RPGs for a very long time. So if there's anyone like who could like properly spearhead the franchise in any direction, Holly Lange would be it. Plus, she's like one super cool ass human being. Like I love her energy.
I don't see anything negative about that, so it's all ups for here. But I'm still confused as to why he would leave now that everything is going so well. I mean, it's going so well from our perspective. We don't know exactly what's happening behind the scenes, but it's looking pretty good.
I'm sure there's a lot of problems happening behind the scenes, because there's always, it's like whenever you have like a transition like they had with Xbox and Activision and stuff, there's always problems there. We know Microsoft laid off dissolved a couple of studios and stuff. I'm not going to talk about that here. It's Blizzard, hopefully under the Xbox games umbrella, is going to be Blizzard. It cannot be the Blizzard from the past, obviously, but at least hopefully it could be a little bit more independent and autonomous, right? We always talked about this. One good thing of getting rid of the Activision umbrella is Activision was that type of company where it would want you to provide yearly increases, right? This is how it went. Microsoft financially doesn't really operate that way. In one thing, the Xbox game division is, the different beast. It churns out revenue, but not at the rate they would want to. So they want to make a lot of revenue from that.
For sure.
But that's not the same model as Activision. I'm going to mention this again. Microsoft has like probably the biggest money in the world right now. I don't think there's anybody bigger. I don't know, but it's up there, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest source of that is like super cloud AI solution stuff. That's like their biggest gist. It's a software company, first of all. They don't do a lot of like hardware tech, and when they do, it's not like their biggest revenue source, but cloud solutions to like governments and big states and all of that, plus like their AI development, that's where the real money comes in. That's how they have their biggest resources.
Xbox is, it's a fun little project.
Yeah, well, Xbox has its own history and it's really cool. I just like after the events that went on with Xbox, and as much as I loved Phil Spencer and whatever, he does play games a lot and he definitely loves games, but he also has to like fulfill the role of a CEO, and that role is not pretty, especially in corporate America. Let's face it, it's not pretty. He's gonna have to like boot people from the studios and stuff. It's sad, but I feel like Blizzard is not safe. After I saw what they did,
You think that's what happened? John Hyde was pressured to leave.
Not pressure, not in that sense. They're not safe. I'm like a studio. They're not safe. Like at some point, if they don't do good product or do good sales, they're probably just gonna like close this studio. Yeah, it's such a legendary studio. I know, but it could happen. Nobody's safe. John Hyde leaving. I just think that there's two things here. Either the projects were piling up and he felt the pressure and he just wanted to step away from it all.
Is that like the best case scenario?
No. I think the best case scenario is a bigger opportunity like arose. And, they never can talk about these things. But if something like that occurred, like if you were John Hyde and you had the Warcraft franchise to work on and, I don't know, The Witcher, or maybe Witcher is not, I don't know, Matrix, something bigger.
I know where you're going.
If you're given this opportunity, because this is the thing, these people who are like head of franchises, they get to have a vision for it. They get to have in some aspects a renaissance of it, like a phoenix metaphor for some of them. So yeah, so this is what I'm saying. It's if you get a head of franchise position to a different one, even if it's not that big, you can still have this oh man, I really want to take this franchise to a different level or a different angle, something like that. It could be motivation factor for him.
It could be like when it comes to vision and direction of the franchise, I don't know how much conflict that would be with Metzen coming on board and having a say in the overall story development.
Oh, Metzen if Metzen doesn't have something, we're going to have a problem. I'm going to come there and beat somebody.
And although we can, probably have a discussion about how much better Microsoft is for Blizzard, it's still overall a corporation. So I can see some pressure of it being a little bit too corporate. Maybe the life is there.
That's going to happen. Corporations have to make money.
Like I can see, I can understand the creative part of a game designer. We're not game designers, but we're also working in the creative department. And when there's too much structure, too much pressure, too much deadline, there's an even bigger corporate umbrella over everything. Maybe that creative juice can be stifled, and maybe it became a little bit too much.
Yes.
Or yeah.
So it's listen. We have to be real here. We all enjoy a video game who was created with the sole purpose corporately to make money. Get that through your head. This game has to generate money. It's that simple. Now, how it generates money, being a good game, being very...
That's the thing.
Yeah. Being something that you enjoy playing. If a game is successful at killing your time, it will be successful. Okay, but it will be successful financially. Okay, now we can talk about predatory methods, and we know Blizzard has made it in the past. We all know Shadowlands, when we strongly believe that Shadowlands was developed with the intent to boost engagement metrics, and that meant to just keep that hamster wheel rolling.
Oh, for sure.
You probably all the time.
What?
Yeah, we know. So that happened. Okay, but at the end of the day, like even when we talk about vanilla Warcraft, when that game was created, like the original creators for it created it to be great, to be
a fun game.
To have you have a sense of discoverability, to make you immersed into it and all of that. Now, the people at the helm of the company who oversaw what was happening, they didn't go and say, hey, listen, you're not doing... No. They made sure that game, which was vanilla World of Warcraft, had the proper marketing to get to the right people so that it would generate money.
Yeah,
it's a company, man. This is how it works. It's not rocket science. So just to make a point here, we don't have a problem with companies trying to make money. Okay, it's all about how the methods they use to make the money, and how they treat some of their creative individuals over there.
We're aware. Some people have been saying something about that some time ago.
Yeah, we've been okay. Not interested in that right now. But yeah, they have to make money, and they have to pay very, very well the people that create those games. And this was the thing in the past, the original team and the original Blizzard up until the Activision pickup was a great company to work at, and they were paid pretty well. After that, we all know the stories. Oh, buddy boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you want us to talk about Warrior or not? How are you feeling?
The question is, do we have to? And I think we probably kind
of
have to.
Listen, so prefacing this, it's going to be all you because it's your main, and they killed it. You played it today on stream. If you want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think we probably, since we're probably not going to have any videos on it anytime soon, considering that it's definitely not in its final form when it comes to design, it definitely points out to something that we can probably both talk about, and that is the discrepancy between class designs and how they are approached by very different people, and how it feels like they're sometimes part of different games. So, and listen, at the end of the day, it could all be very subjective, right? What I find fun about Warrior doesn't have to be what everybody else finds fun about the Warrior. And if I like it or if somebody likes it, doesn't mean that you have to like it as well. So it's all going to be personal bias, but I have been a fan of Warrior since 2004, 2005, so I started World of Warcraft. And we've seen this consistent design of change where either they're not communicated properly or they're not implemented properly all at the same time, because it happened for Warlock. And
but before we get into like the philosophical part of it, let's go through what actually happened, and then we can both talk about the philosophies and what's actually here. All right. So I am over here at the what happened with the Warrior. Yeah. So reverted an unintentional change to interface tooltip. Okay. So let's talk. Hero talent for arms. Yeah. Reap the Storm now also triggers from Cleave for arms. So
this has had some issues for arms, particularly because you're no longer getting a beefed up Whirlwind, since you don't even have Whirlwind anymore. Now you have Cleave, and it would used to consume a lot of your rage and do a lot of your damage. Now that makes that free, and arms currently is facing a very rage overflow problem where you're most of the time, or some of the time, ignoring your rage, and people have addressed this in feedback, and this doesn't really help. It's kind of like the opposite. Okay. It not only takes away like a big payoff of your rotation where you're like, oh, now I get to slap a fat ability. It just makes it free. And I don't know if this is exactly what arms needed. Okay, we'll carry on. Yeah. Blade's Master's Torment has been redesigned. Activating Avatar cast sweeping strikes, and while Avatar is active, the cooldown of Cleave is reduced by 1.5 seconds. Now this is the biggest thing, right? Yeah, this is the biggest thing that changed, and kind of has a lot of people talking at the very least. Okay, let's check out the note, and then you'll have your piece on it. Okay, so the note from developer: with recent updates to Blade Storm, this talent went from strong synergy to a near lock-in, particularly for Slayers. Total Blade Storm uptime was also becoming disruptive, so we've redesigned this talent to be useful in AoE situations and provide a different rotational cadence during Avatar. Warlord Storm and Tooltip updated with detailed information, no functional changes. Okay, so what happened here? Okay. I saw you on stream. So it depends. Once again, we're talking about different types of players, because right now, if you're going to play arms properly in AoE, where you would take this talent to have the double Blaze Storm, because you would have the normal Blaze Storm and then the one activated by Avatar. Yeah. You don't play this, actually. This is not the most popular one, at least not where you're playing arms and you want to do dungeons. The build is actually not taking this, and the double Blaze Storm was kind of like big AoE. That's the only time it would be good. If you take this, you're either not caring about optimizing your play or playing the proper build, and you're just trying to have fun, and it's neither here nor there. That's one thing. So I don't think this was the popular one. I'm not sure where the data is for this, but I suppose they have the data. The other thing is how they change it. I'm not particularly hung up on the having two Blade Storms or pressing Avatar and then being in a channeled ability that doesn't let you actually play the spec. Yeah, I like it. I like Blade Storm. That's why I like Warrior. It's a very iconic ability, but let's say we can get rid of that. Having sweeping strikes in just creates problems that, as an average arms player myself, I have noticed. When you press your Avatar, normally you want to continue doing your big abilities, big cooldowns, but you still have Blade Storm from your talent tree because you're arms warrior. So then you press Avatar, you have sweeping strikes, and then you Blade Storm during those sweeping strikes. But you cannot use abilities during Blade Storm? Like, no. Your sweeping strikes, when you activate that, if I remember correctly, that activated like the Cleave situation, where you would never use it during Blade Storm, because I remember that. So now, but you have it now during Blade Storm. That's weird. so what? It's not intuitive for people. I'm sure there's ways to play around it, but it doesn't really sound like good game design, because you're popping Avatar and then you're Blade Storm. So whatever sweeping strike uptime you have, it gets wasted during Blade Storm, and you still have your own sweeping strike. So I don't understand exactly where this design is supposed to be going. Maybe we're looking too much into it. Maybe they just want you to have those outside of it. So it's like a bonus, like extra stuff for you. Do whatever. The only people are going to want to get value out of those. So you want to get value out of your Blade Storm, you want to get value out of your sweeping strikes.
but you still have them
It,
separately.
it doesn't. The problem is that either a new player or a player that's not very experienced in arms won't know exactly what this means and what to do with it.
Oh yeah, this is not new.
What's
new
very clear is that they don't want double blade strom, and maybe I can understand that. That's fine, but the replacement doesn't feel like it's gonna stick. I would be surprised if this is what we're gonna have in the end. And normally we would just like brush past these types of topics, but it feels so disconnected with how arms plays and what is funny with arms that it kind of makes it feel like whoever's doing this doesn't really play the spec.
That's the feeling you got, right?
Which is a weird feeling to have, because nobody knows who the person is and how or maybe they do, or what they actually enjoy doing in World of Warcraft. But it definitely feels like it's something disconnected from what makes arms.
Okay, shall we go through Fury as well?
Let's go, because there's at least one positive for Fury.
Okay. So Fury, Berserker's Torment tooltip updated with detailed information, no functional changes. Tenet's Torment tooltip updated. Okay. Odin's Fury damage increased by 133% overall.
Yes.
Reckless Abandon now buffs your next Bloodthirst and Raging Blow. So Odin's Fury now does damage.
Yes.
Damage.
Well, that was a thing that people have been talking about throughout the entirety of the Dragonflight since they brought Odin's Fury back. It was severely undertuned, and the only time you played it, I think,
we were so happy when we brought it back, and then it was shit.
Yeah, but didn't that happen with Outlaw and Dreadblades as well when they added it back? It was just severely undertuned.
Don't remind me about that.
That's fine. I mean, now it's most likely playable. It does quite a bit of damage. The problem with Fury is that so much of the spec is just very bugged, and this is like a totally different, let's say, issue than what arms has, because you could say I don't like this change for arms, but you don't even know if you like or don't like what changes Fury has, because you cannot play them because they're bugged. Slayer has been kind of undergoing the same issues and same bugs since we've tested it on alpha back when we went to the Creator Summit thing back in London, and it's weird that it hasn't been changed right now, and I don't know what to think about Fury, because I don't know where the bugs will be fixed, how it's going to be, if we're going to have the same skills. So it feels like there's a lack of either communication or engagement with Warrior, and it's probably the one that we can talk about because we've just had changes, but there's other specs and classes that people are just constantly spamming in all the chats, but where's my Shaman, where's my dad? So
where's my dad?
When you I don't know, we went to get milk.
Yeah, the milk.
But
thing.
when you have specs like Mage, and then you have classes like Warrior, and you're looking like, okay, well, why aren't they treated the same? Like, what's going on?
Let's not give the Mage example again.
You can say Warlock too. You can
say Warlock. You can say
DK as well.
Windwalker Monk as well. DK, Red Paladin. There's a lot. So we're not gonna give the Fire Mage example because we've been accused of making only Fire Mage videos. Like we have 3 Fire Mage videos out of 30. Like
and none of us are like main Fire Mages.
Yeah,
You've played a lot more than I have.
I guess it's a bad thing to like praise them when they do good shit. But regardless, let's talk about the philosophy here, because I think it's a really important point of discussion. So when you have situations like Warrior, especially arms, but I think Fury is not that far apart. I don't know how many of you are maining arms right now and we're thinking about maining arms or Fury in the War Within, but it's clear to me that this is not the level of involvement from the devs when you look at some other melee specs. And let's talk about the other plate melee specs, Red Paladin and Frost Unholy DK. What you see there,
it's not even.
I won't call it's pure perfection because that's hard to achieve. Although Fire Mage,
what?
But it's very, very clear that it's either what Flame said, and I have a really hard time accepting that the dev in charge of Warrior is not really playing or liking the spec, or I don't know. It's either that or at some point, and this was something we addressed in the past, the attrition rate in the WoW team must be high. Because on one hand, you have so many cool specs designed, and on the other, you look at what's happening to like this, and these are updates for Warriors, and it's not like the one we had for Survival where you had, remember that, the lunging strike had like another 3 yards or something, bullshit like that. No. This is like proper updates, and it feels like either it's somebody new or it's just like people.
Maybe they don't have experienced Warrior developers for it. But
that would be a problem in and of itself. You cannot really put somebody in charge of a spec who hasn't really
the thing is, we're saying this, but it might come off as like super insulting, but that's not what we mean. Like, we're legit curious because we've had even a more recent example. We don't have to do the Fire Mage. We can just do Survival Hunter. We've talked about Survival Hunter last week.
Yeah.
And the Hunter community, not us, but the Hunter community actually compiled a big list of feedback with all of the issues for the Hunter rework. And I'm pretty sure, just by looking at what Hunter has gone through and kind of listening to the Hunter community, that most, if not all of it, has been listened to, like very closely and very on point. And that's very surprising because you don't see that across the board. So it's clearly different people handling different things.
Question is, did the Warrior community make a nice list?
I'm pretty sure they did.
I mean, send it over.
As far as Archie's concerned, I think I've read pretty much every post that he has, and they've been talking about feedback for issues for months now.
Yeah.
I guess there's just a different level of engagement, and like this is probably neither here nor there, but at the end of the day, you're selling this expansion. There's a lot of Warrior players, and they're looking at their class and they're like, but those guys, but what about me?
You don't want people to think about, they're gonna drop their favorite class. This is a problem. It's not like us where now I want to try something else. That's a different approach. But when you're like, there's a lot of people out there who just play Warrior. They play arms all the time, and that's what they want to play, and they don't want to change it, and that's it, right? You cannot really fuck them over. I know, it's a launch of the expansion or whatever, and we don't know the numbers, and I don't know if they go into this micro detail of a situation where how many players are playing Warrior or whatever, but that's not the point. The point is, you cannot have notes for specs that are clearly being listened to, and the points that were addressed in all of those are from the community, and then you have this, which you see on Warriors.
Like we've memed and we've had some very, very nasty Warlock videos that we just didn't get to post because they fixed the issues too quick, and I'm hoping that this is the case for Warrior. I do have to preface is that this is probably not the final version of ARMS, but it was an interesting experience because earlier today we've tested this on stream as an ARMS Warrior main currently, and as a person that wanted to main ARMS in the War Within before all the class changes happened. This was legit the first time in World of Warcraft where I was no memeing, actually sad. Because I just went into ARMS, tried to play the spec, and it just felt like, I guess I just won't be playing ARMS anymore. And I've never had that feeling. Like, I've trashed Survival before, I've trashed Warlock before. It was still kind of fun, but this just felt like, this is just turning into a different spec that I don't like anymore. And I cannot imagine that I'm the only person that might think this way.
Is your feeling like resonating with others as well? Like when you look at, like, I don't know, the Skyhold Discord or the forums.
I've read a lot of people having very negative reception to this. I heard a lot of people, or I've seen people not liking it. I don't know if it's to the degree that I don't like it, but I haven't heard almost any positive stuff. Maybe I've missed it, and that's fine. But overall, the feeling that I've felt today kind of makes sense from what I've heard people interact and react to the changes that happen right now. And let's say maybe now I understand shamans while they're complaining that for weeks and weeks and weeks, but where's my rework? And I was like, I don't get it. Why was the problem, right? Maybe this is the problem, and maybe this is something that a lot of people feel with their spec. Maybe this is how Survival Hunters felt when they lost their range. Like, I don't know if alienating people by changing the entire philosophy of how a spec is supposed to be designed is the way.
Well, it's not the way, for sure. Or if you're going to do that, do it in like the most engaging and cool way possible, not like what's happening here. It's sad because as much as like I know a lot of people would like prefer to not have major changes within their specs or whatever, moving from expansion to expansion. What they did in the War Within with all of the revamps, like you had like some classes, some specs have like total reworks, and some others were just like let in the bin. So at some point you kind of like set up your community to expect this.
You raise the bar.
You raise the bar. You've shown a lot of specs that have been completely changed for the better, for the much better. and you kind of like set this expectation. Now everybody wants something fresh and new and exciting, and it all has to be encompassed in this neat little system you brought back in Dragonflight with just the talents and hero talents as well. If that's not gonna happen, you're gonna have a lot of sad little flames over here that it's gonna ride. they're gonna ride, and I don't know how to positively like feedback this. Because it definitely seems to be some sort of internal issue, and I don't feel they have enough people. I feel like what's happening now within the WoW team, I think there's like one person for like 3 or 4 specs. And
Probably something like that.
Yeah, and if that is the case, it's a heavy workload, and you have to like be very, very careful to not like have.
It's so interesting because it's such a thin line that they're working on. Because on one hand, dude, I really feel bad for the devs that receive constant negative feedback. I'm pretty sure they're doing the best job. I'm pretty sure that a lot of them are like, oh, I bet they're gonna like this, and then they're like, no, this sucks. As somebody that works in a creative process,
we know how brutal this community is.
Oh my god, I cannot wait for people to see this, and then they tell you, no, it sucks. You're so bad at your job. That is soul crushing. So I understand that, and I don't want to like throw any shades or any dirt around. But it's at some point like people care about their specs so much.
That's the thing with WoW.
Incredible how attached people are emotionally.
We see that in our tier list videos. Like whenever
how
we
can
do,
you put it in C tier?
Like we tried our best to like visually show data. Like pure numbers, so nothing subjective. Like when we did the meta analysis tier list and put like all of the assets, like the data research. And even after that, people are so attached to their spec. Like when I say, how can you put Survival Hunter in D tier? Because it's the best. I love it. But dude, I didn't put it. It's the numbers. The numbers just don't add up. I'm sorry. And even then,
math.
Even then, people will get upset about it. So you can imagine that you will have a very visceral reaction to things like this from spec mains, because we know. The WoW community at this point is like, I don't know, I think 30 plus, 24 plus.
Probably the age demographic is probably around there.
So I could think like the youngest would be 24 something, and the oldest will be, I don't know, 50, maybe 60, I don't know. So it's quite an adult place of gamers, sweaty gamers. And when you think about that age demographic, you can bet your ass that they have came to that age with a big majority of their adulthood being invested into this game. Thus, the big attachment, thus the visceral reactions. It's basically like if someone would pick on one of your family member or whatever, you would have a visceral reaction, right? So
there's a positive to that kind of a community, because on the other hand, if you do good by them, they're like super loyal. I mean, we've seen this with
that is true.
Players.
Although there is a saying that whatever Blizzard do, they're not going to be able to know. There's going to be people that are never going to be satisfied in World of Warcraft.
That's always the case.
It's always the case. But at the end of the day, I guess they have an attrition problem. I guess they're still working out some of things. Although we do know that the team is way bigger and stuff. Yeah. I just hope they get their shit together, because there's not much time left. That's the problem.
That is very concerning.
Yeah, for some specs, because I'm pretty sure like the gameplay modes, not the Mythic plus dungeons set, but the majority of the gameplay mode will be quite in place and in check. And you gotta remember. So remember Dragonflight when it launched, we had a couple of reworks which we were very excited about. But
I feel then Shadow Priest sick coming along.
No. I'm not. No. But we could be that, but then you had 10.1, you had 10.2, and those came with reworks as well. So
who would have expected and predicted to red pile this?
Yeah, I was blown out of my mind back then. But regardless of that, when you have a spec that is not going to make the cut at the launch of the game,
it doesn't really feel good.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, I know, but at least you can expect it in a 0.1 patch.
There's definitely hope for the future. Like this isn't like the end all be all. This is not the final form of arms. So I've mentioned it before as well. It important to a degree that we kind of feedback, how the spec plays, how we view it, because I feel like also sometimes the feedback that most devs probably have access to is probably the right feedback from the high level players, the theory crafters, all that, and everything, how it works under the hood.
Yeah.
But there's also the majority of players that engage with the visual part of the spec. Like, dude, I don't care if double blaze storm is bad. I just like spinning all the time. Like, there are a lot of people that just don't care about
that's the
pure
majority.
functionality.
True.
And that's what gives you the feel of ARMS. That's what gives you like, oh, I like big flash animations, but that's not the best. I don't care. I just like to play the big flash animations.
True. And you mentioned that, but it is the majority of players.
Yeah.
It is the majority of players. You can talk about Blizzard always addressing the concerns of the 1%. I don't necessarily think that's true. Not
always, not
in
always.
the big scope, because they kind of, like you saw what they said within the Mythic Plus interview. They know how the high-end players play with the affixes, and they know how, like, the mid-range players. So they know the behavior of their players.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I guess we can wrap it up. If we have something to take from the chat, that would be the time.
There are some questions, by the way. Right now, guys, since we don't usually interact with you guys during the show, because we kind of want to keep it on point and just go through all the topics
We love
really
you.
quick. We usually do this at the end, and if you have like any questions, anything, any concerns, or anything that we could answer,
Or
just
any idea.
fire it up. Yeah, sure, for sure. For instance, Jeff Malcolm asks, question: how did you all meet?
Well, we go through that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had a lot of people's like, why is Marcelian not doing any videos anymore? And they don't really know
But
what
I'm
you're
doing them. Listen, I'm doing them like all this is like 2 hours of pure video material, right? This is it. This is my solution. I came up with this, so we can make shit together, right? It's very difficult to be in all of the videos all the time, because there's so much other work that has to be done. You would not believe it. So
Yeah, I don't know
let me
how
give you an example. A good thumbnail for me means close to 2 hours. Now, how can I? So that's one thumbnail, right? A good one. Okay, not all of them are good, I know, but that's the amount of work I have to put in for a thumbnail. And I'm not only doing thumbnail, I'm doing a lot of stuff. So at some point we decided that it's best to like do the things that we're most efficient at. Like Flame really loves to like research stuff and get geeky with it, like and script stuff all around the place, and that's cool. I don't necessarily not like that, but why would we have two people do the same thing, where I know like I'm very efficient at doing all of the graphical stuff and animations and making things look pretty and blah 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 blah. Well, let's do that and make sure like the content is like properly researched and informed and delivered, but it also looks good and sounds good, and you
have a lot of tech savvy, a lot of audio engineering experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit in the background.
It's basically like a video needs 10 things to have it done properly, and in the day there's only time for a person to do 5 of them. So we have to like break it apart. Like I cannot go to listen to audio shit, because then you would hear in every video, and that's not
Yeah. So as much as like we love to do videos together, and it's always fun, especially when we did the tier listens. Why are you laughing?
Ty says, I thought you were father and son.
So I think I answered to a comment. So yeah, he is my son. I made him when I was 4 years old. Imagine that super sperm, baby.
We're only 4 years apart.
Yeah. So how we met? We met at Xbox.
Funnily enough, because we did work. We didn't work for Microsoft directly. We worked for like an outsourcing company in.
We worked for Microsoft. Basically, we were hired by an outsourcing company, but we were like a Xbox support. I don't know what was the year. 2015?
2016?
No, not 2016. 2016, we were already kicking it off. 2015, I think it was.
Somewhere September-ish, August-ish, I think.
I was at the time...
It would have had to be after Legion release? Just before? No, it was just before Legion, because I remember with some of the first paychecks, I bought my monitor to play Legion. So it would have had to been there. I don't know when Legion was released.
Yeah. So okay, it was 2015 for sure when we met, and I think at the time I was a coach. I wasn't team lead yet. So, I was a coach, and you were in a new hire. Yeah, and He was like one of the most awkward motherfuckers on that floor. I'll should I go for the full story?
Go for it. Go for
Should
it.
I go for the full
funny because
story?
I remember it differently, but it makes sense when you say it.
Yeah. So he was like, looking awkward. I mean, not like looking at you awkward. He's like had that, I don't know, weird expression on his face. I was over there. I was like, very like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Well, everybody, especially when new hires came in, I was trying to like make him feel at home or whatever, right? And here comes Mr. Flame with his weird ass look, and I salute him and I tell him something. I'm hoping I'm translating this from Romanian to English properly. Right. It's like, hey man, nice to finally meet you, or something like that. And his answer was something along the lines of, well, I hope this is the last time. And it was very awkward
as well.
Yeah. It was, but it was so awkward. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't remember the context of that. I know I was trying to be funny.
Yeah, he was probably this weird ass sense of humor back then. I don't know what, but for me that was the first impression. Like, what an awkward fucking dude.
Because I don't remember the first interaction that we've had. I remember is that I asked for a GTA.
Yeah, that was way after that. Way after that. Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah,
everybody was new, so it was a lot of new faces. I couldn't put two and two together.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a funny story. It's like when he was late sometimes and I had to call the number he laid on, like, to see if he's okay or what's happening, right? And one day
I remember this.
Well, one day he was late and I looked up like one number and I assumed it was his phone number, right? Because like we didn't have their personal phone number, so I was ready to like call him, and we already established a kind of a relationship. Like, he can confirm like the way I addressed people over there was very different than other folks. Like,
he's very street, very
and people know that.
Very,
like,
hey motherfucker, how you going?
Yeah. So I called that number, hoping I would, get an answer from Flame. It's like, hey dude, where you at? You're supposed to be at work, right? And I call and I hear an answer like, hello. It's like, hey motherfucker, where you at? And the reply I got, hey motherfucker, I'm at home. It's like, who am I talking to? And he gave the name. It was his father, his actual father.
Yeah, he came back from milk from the store.
It was his actual father. I felt so bad. Like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. It's Flame there, but he was really cool about it. He did like Flame's dad is actually really cool.
I joke a lot, but my dad is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude, like very hood like as well. And, like, he took it very well, but I felt like shit, like, because I addressed his father like I would address him. Like, listen, you dickhead. Oh man. But yeah, that's when we met, like 2015 and stuff. And it took some time where we kind of like understood that we like Blizzard shit.
Yeah, we were into Diablo 3 and Heroes of the Storm at the time.
Yeah, and WoW too.
Yeah,
so it was a lot of Blizzard games, and I don't know how the conversation came about. I was still doing like a couple of videos when I had the time back in those years, like when the WoW movie came out and stuff. And I did a couple of projects, but I didn't really have the time like as I used to, right? But I did fiddle with the idea of like, at one point just starting the channel, restarting the channel, but this time, with a team. Oh, imagine a team. That was the team. And I think
there's no I in team.
Yeah. We talked about it in 2016, and I remember telling you that, listen, if we want to join this, we can do Heroes of the Storm stuff, and we have to start it on the 28th of January 2017 because there was some Chinese thing year or something,
some
that
feng shui
year of the cock or something.
Year of the cock.
That was something, but that's when we kicked it off together. And it was with Heroes of the Storm guides, and man, we worked a lot on those. Remember those?
My God.
We worked a lot on those.
It was weird because he had experience of for years of doing videos, and it was my first time. I mean, I actually had done a few videos like very noobish years before that, but I didn't. He had a different vibe, and going into the microphone for the first time, I think I just remember I did the Diablo guide for Heroes of the Storm, and they're like, dude, just shout louder. It's like, play Diablo.
You were recording like he was reading off the script, and she was like, Blaze Magic Tournament has been redesigned, activating an avatar, catalyst strikes. Like, dude, nobody will hear you. You have to like shout a little, like shout more, because that's gonna be translated as a normal voice. Back then we had like a shitty microphone and stuff. So yeah, it was a process, but it was like a learning process, cool ass process. Like if you remember, at some point when we did Heroes of the Storm, we actually got contacted by Blizzard. Do you remember that? And we did those guides that they put on
from the community.
Yeah, and we had put those guides in their website and stuff.
Weren't we at not in the launcher? I don't think
we were in the launcher. We were with the video of about.
They were actually starting a website where they would compile all of the videos,
guides and stuff. And we were in it, and our little channel back then.
And it survived for like a week, and then it just trailed off.
Well, the game slowly died because they put shit. But yeah, we're derailing a lot. So yeah, we started off together with Heroes of the Storm stuff in 2017. And the question is how we met. Well,
that's
how we met.
That's basically
that's how we met. There's a lot more details we can go into. Maybe we'll make a stream about the details of it and how our relationship evolved, because I have stories.
We've had attempts at doing that with a second channel, but that didn't. There was another person that I know you don't want to answer this because. I don't want to fucking know, but somebody asking a question, because we get this question a lot as well while we're looking to main. And I can answer for myself, because I think this is the first time that I've changed my opinion on how I want to main some stuff. And it's fun for content, but it's shit for me. But when I saw the cinematic with Anduin and Thrall, and I was like, okay, what am I going to main for War Within? I figured, and Metzen was like, we're going to have a whole story spread throughout 3 expansions. It's going to be in a whole World Soul Saga. And I was like, fuck, I want to experience that whole story with one class. And I was like, I want to main something for 3 fucking expansions. So and it makes it so much fucking harder to pick a main, because I know I'm putting it for. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep with it. But
hey, listen, if you say it, you're going to have to keep with it.
Yeah, because I say it publicly. No, I cannot take it back. So right now I am undecided, because the first class that I wanted to main, usually the safest classes for me would be Warrior, DK, Druid, stuff like that, Shaman, basically. But outside of DK, all of these are just kind of like shit. And when I played Mage, I was like, dude, how is the game for this class so much better than all the others? And that's where, all the videos and all the Mage simp came. I was like,
10 videos about Mage.
Mage is my least played class ever. And I was like, how is this class so good? I'm not a Mage player. Like, why is this so much better? So now I'm kind of gravitated towards Mage. But I'm not going to make a decision right now. But that's usually my thought process for it. I don't know if you want to answer it or if we just want to skip it, because we're going to have a video about it or whatever.
We're going to have a video about it for sure, detailing this. I can say, like, at the moment, Unholy Decay is my bae. Like, I love it so much, even in its current iteration. But I'm probably going to love it even more. I know I'm going to love it even more in the War Within. Other than that, I do have some other prospects in mind. I'm a main Red Paladin by heart, so that's always going to be on the table in some capacity. Sadly, the Rogue, so traditionally I always main Red and Rogue. always been the case for me, right? But now looking at what's happening to Rogue, I don't really feel any of the hero talents whatsoever. The hero talents just not. And it's probably not going to be on the table, this expansion, for me. However, there's Monk, who has very piqued an interest for me. And I always have this on the back of my head, man. I never really mained a caster, so we'll see that. But for now, Unholy Decay remains the same. We'll have a video when we have the decisions made, and again, how we like process or filter these decisions in some capacity. So maybe it would be helpful for some other people. But again, my list will be Unholy Decay, Red Paladin, Windwalker Monk. Probably either Shadow Priest or some sort of like Mage. I'm not sure. Well, I played Mage before, so it's not. I haven't touched anything on the beta. Just if I'm going to decide, I'm going to be very excited. Then
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I think we have time for like one more question. If you guys have anything else that you want to point out, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah. Well.
So we got another stream coming in tomorrow, and since you're watching all of this, obviously on Twitch is Twitch, but if you're watching it on YouTube, this is our main channel. But a lot of the stuff that you maybe have missed throughout today's show is gonna come on our second channel, which is youtube.com/@Marcelian&Flame. I'm sure we can link it in chat. I see Arja on point with all of the comments and linking to our channel. I think she did that before just recently, so you can just click that, and check out the previous videos that you might have missed.
Oh, we talked about like Arja being like a modern stuff. That maybe at the close to the end of this, we can have Arja. Arja, if you're there, better listen to this. Have her pick up, questions and comments, and we can have.
Oh,
them
that
at
would
the
be
end.
an interesting thing. That would have to be like.
But that she won't be always available, so we'll have to
Yeah,
think of
yeah,
a plan B. We'll talk it out, Arja.
We'll see how this evolves, where we can probably have like a Q&A at the end for a couple of.
Yeah,
people.
I mean, it could obviously Q&A could be about anything. If you want a Q&A about us or whatever we do here, that's fine. If you want to talk about what was discussed in the podcast or the show,
Sure.
that's always
Maybe
cool.
something that we cannot really answer in
Yeah,
in
this
this
is-
Mr. Nila says, what is your plan for the future? I would expect you're saying this for the channel.
The
at the
channel,
moment.
or can you detail future? Because that's very vague.
It's future with capital F, so I don't know if it's the singer, but the thing
Future? No, fuck no.
The thing with YouTube, like I can probably say a little bit, Marcin can probably elaborate a little bit more. The thing with YouTube is it kind of always evolves, and being able to kind of go with the flow to an extent is part of what makes us or made us able to, go through Shadowlands at the very least. It depends essentially what people like to see, because it really matters a lot on the kind of content that sticks with people. We like to do all kinds of stuff. Like if you've seen any of our videos from last summer, we've attempted a different kind of future for WoW content that did not fly off, and we've lost weight because you don't eat a lot, then that's what happens. But so far we're really excited about we're within actually breathing a lot of fresh air into the game and making a lot of varied content. Not new projects outside of our second channel at the moment that I'm aware of, but I know Marcin is cooking some shit up.
I'm not going to talk about what I'm cooking, man.
Yeah, I know you're not. I don't even know what he's cooking up, so.
Well, definitely a new song. We have like the still WoW is like really old now,
with hopes for Shadowlands. Oh my god, if you listen to it,
with hopes for Shadowlands. See you in Shadowlands.
Oh,
we definitely saw some people in Shadowlands.
Yeah.
It's definitely a new song in the works, and that also will have to imply a new video for that song. Now, what the song will be about is going to be very interesting and all in good time. I know I've been talking about this for quite a while.
Yeah.
Listen, it's done when it's done. When we're talking about music making, we cannot really cut any corners. So it's going to happen, and it's going to be funny as fuck, and it's going to relate to a lot of people, I'm sure of it. So watch out for that. In terms of like, if your question was about our future and the channel's future or whatever, what we're doing right now is we're kind of like living the future we set out for ourselves at the beginning of this year. So we decided to like just focus on World of Warcraft completely and just make sure we do the proper content as best as possible and at the biggest quality as we can. This is why I've stepped a little bit back on not appearing in all the videos and having Flame much more present over there. But also, making some changes. Sunshade, went off and did her own thing. Then we had, Mokti was always here, and he's like, part of the gang and helping with editing and all of the stuff. Patrons know him because he edits the bloopers, most of them, and they're funny as fuck. And all of the weird ass faces you see in TLS play, that's also him. Future for us is like basically we live in the future like we set up, or the objectives and then stuff we set out at the beginning of the year. Now, after we usually do this on the 31st of December, we meet up at the office and we set up some goals and objectives and everything and what's happening. Yes, it is a business. We have to look at it as a business. There's a lot of things in the background that you don't have to know about because it's like boring. But when we look at it, we always try to take like the creative decisions first. We took a very bad creative decision last summer. Very bad. It was a very good creative decision. It was a very bad business decision. And it cost us a lot. So we definitely didn't want to repeat that moving forward. What we see happening in the future, I can only speculate here because, again, we plan out shit and we set objectives and goals and strategies only on the 31st of December. Okay, so, but what we can speculate here is that WoW is going to come to Game Pass at some point. The game is going to be part of a bigger explosion of popularity, and that will mean a great deal for us. As much as a lot of people kind of like associate us with not noob friendly, but not like the top 1%
High-end,
either. Yeah. So we're kind of like middle ground. One thing I can say for sure is like when WoW will come to Game Pass, would definitely want to like help those people get into the game, as we did when we had this channel pop off for the first time. That doesn't necessarily mean that we'll go back for doing guides or whatever. That's not off the table, but we're gonna find ways on helping people, you know, either getting better at the game in some capacity, or understanding the game better, or understanding how to pick a main, you know, maybe understanding what's all of the story about, who knows, right? So that's one thing. For sure, we're gonna like make always one of our mottos like always improve, right? So we're gonna always try to improve like the quality. We like invest in stuff, and you know, thanks to our Patreons and you know people that you know support us, you know, we are able to like maintain stuff, and from time to time actually buy some new equipment or stuff like that, just to always improve. We feel like we can never. I feel like I can never get to the standard of quality I want to get to. There's always
there's always thing. Like we both see the same one. Like the kind of stuff that we want to do for videos and edit just would take triple or quadruple the amount of time to edit, and we always have to cut corners. Like, okay, we cannot put too many stuff in because it's not going to be done in time, and we need to get it done in time. Like, it's always going to be a thing, and that's what we essentially tried last summer, where we just like, what if we went all out on the editing quality? So it's a lot of experiments.
Almost killed our channel.
Oh my God! Thank you, Deadneck, for the gifted subs. I cannot even count how many there are.
I cannot see. Count them.
it's 5 tier 1 gifted subs. Appreciate it, man, and appreciate everybody who subbed today. We see it. It's Deadneck.
Deadneck. What a beautiful name. I bet your neck is very live. Thank you so much. Very alive. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate the support, guys. We see you and we love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So all right. In terms of like the future.
It depends. It's very fluid.
Right now, I think like this is the best time. Right now, we are living that future, right? So we shall talk again like close to December, when we will know for sure much more. Like, listen, I would love to start doing Diablo 4 videos again. Don't get me wrong, but I know that's gonna take a big chunk of our time, and that's not a possibility. So one thing we can say is like at some point we'll have to get somebody in who would just handle from top to bottom, a Diablo channel. Like, we make the content, but that person edits it, puts it all together, publishes it on YouTube and stuff. Because I love Diablo 4. I'm addicted to it. I will admit it. I love this new season. I'm not going to talk too much about it.
He hasn't done keys in 3 weeks.
Yeah, sometimes I played up until I'm not going to say, but I played a lot of it.
It's an ungodly hour.
Yeah, I'm almost getting my third character to 100, which is saying a lot. And I've never done this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
This is pretty good. Yeah.
I hope we didn't miss anybody. If we missed it, we're sorry.
We'll get you next time.
Yeah, we're going to catch you next time. Thank you, everybody, for joining, for chatting, for liking, and all of that. This is the wrap-up show. We're going to have it next Thursday, which is 10 a.m. PST, 7 p.m. CET. That's the hours. Yeah, that's it. That's the hours. So catch you then. You can catch us on Twitch, on YouTube. And if you missed it, no problem. You're going to see clips on this on our second channel and full-on videos with production value into them on the Marcelian Online channel. Yep. Say something.
Well, thank you for watching, guys, and we'll catch you tomorrow with more beta testing back on the streaming schedule as well, and on Saturday as well, a little bit earlier, so stay tuned for that, and thank you for coming.
Bye! Wrap up show.